wonderful to again meet with you and this time of opportunity, opportunity to sit together and focus our attention into something that's sublime, to retreat from the cares and worries of the world for a little while. We usually have these go on for about 30 minutes, and it's kind of like a garden. What is a garden? So, I'm an avid gardener. I'm very passionate about gardening and also about art. And these are some of the things that I do now in my so-called retirement, but I've never been busier, it seems. So in a garden, you can't just throw seeds on the ground and expect them to grow. You have to cultivate the soil. In the same way, if we want to have a good inner garden, we have to choose the types of flowers and plants that we want to grow and get rid of the ones that we don't want. In other words, it's a deep weeding out of all of the weeds that choke out the other plants. And believe me, if you have bare soil, you'll find out that within days or weeks, you're going to have it all covered with weeds. So it takes some work to remove the weeds. In the same way, when we sit for meditation, there's a lot of work that takes place. But don't be afraid of the work. We want to remove the things that are going to choke out and smother the plants that we want. And similarly, it's true in meditation and in our inner life. We each come to this understanding. And I think if we want to cultivate like a really healthy garden and have wonderful plants, we want to grow, say we want to grow strawberries. Well, if you don't take the weeds out, those weeds will completely obliterate your strawberries. And the same is true with, say you have lettuce or broccoli, and you plant those seeds in the garden. If the seeds don't get them, then maybe the slugs will. The slugs are these little slimy creatures that they can take down an entire plant in one night. So we got to keep the slugs at bay and the weeds at bay. And that means weeding out all of the unwanted thoughts and the unwanted patterns and habits that we have in our life. And then forming some new habits, some helpful ones. So with a garden, sometimes you need to have a fence around it. You need to protect, the little saplings that are there. So the protection is kind of like, in my mind, is like having a meeting like this, where we're together, we're thinking about calming our minds down, entering into a state of meditation, and leaving off the slugs in the garden, getting rid of the weeds, and having this kind of a little hedge around it to protect what you want to grow in there. Being a gardener myself, it's a constant effort of taking out the weeds and putting on nourishing food for the plants. Today, people are not so much interested in putting chemical fertilizers on their plants because they know that that's harmful for the soil. It does make plants grow, but it's artificially boosting their growth. Pesticides. Well, we don't want to use pesticides in our garden because we know that those are poisonous. So we have to find alternate means to cultivate a garden, to grow a garden without harmful chemicals. And same when we meditate, or we're trying to develop ourselves consciously as conscious beings. We want to create necessary prerequisite conditions so that our garden will grow and our plants will be healthy. Now, the real thing that we want to grow inside is our level of consciousness and to attain a level of peace. Peace and consciousness, they're all inherent within us. They're all there. The seeds, as I say, the seeds of sanctity and sin are within all of us. So it all depends what we wish to cultivate. So we want to choose good seeds and we want to prepare the soil and get it ready for those seeds. Because if you just throw the seeds on the ground, they're not going to grow very well. You need to work the soil a little bit, you need to add some good food to it, which, would be, you might not like the simile of manure. You could use composted manure, which doesn't smell. You can use compost, which are kitchen scraps and leaves and all that kind of stuff, to grow your own garden organically. But if you're going to grow this inner organic garden that we have, then you need to prepare the soil, you need to feed it good food. It needs the elements of sunshine, it needs rain, it needs water, it needs cultivation, and it needs protection. So all of these things are factors that will help us be successful in meditation. So don't worry about, maybe the goal of meditation is to achieve total peace and not be disturbed by thoughts. But thoughts will come. So don't be discouraged and don't give up the whole quest because of the powerful mind, because of the thoughts that we have that don't seem to be under our control. Meditation will allow us to observe the conscious I, the conscious self that is kind of sitting within us like the passenger of a chariot. Say that chariot's being pulled by the horses, and the horses are connected to the chariot with reins and a harness. So it is said that the horses here, the steeds, are the five senses that we all have: the sense of sight, the sense of hearing, the sense of taste, touch, and smell. And these are the five horses that are pulling us. But if they're not being guided well, we could say that the reins are the intellect, and the carriage is the body, and the indweller, which is who we are, is the soul. But it needs a good horseman there to guide the horses in the right direction. But if the horses are running in different directions, chaos would result. So it is said that mind is like fire. It's a good servant, but a terrible master. So we want to be the master of our mind, and we don't want the mind to be our master. So if the mind and the senses are under control, then we can go towards our destination wonderfully and make tremendous progress. So meditation allows us to contact the indweller, one that sits inside the chariot of this body. And then if our senses, the five senses, if they're under our control, then we can guide our chariot through the various challenges of life and reach our destination. It's not all about reaching the destination. It's also the journey. The journey is, as we go along the journey, we'll reach different stages of that journey. We have childhood, and we have adulthood, and then we have go into old age. So these are some of the stages of the journey of our life. So here we are. We're together we're having this opportunity to meet as a little group, um, to sit in stillness and to find our own inner peace and to let the indweller take charge over the mind and the senses. So the mind has sometimes been likened to a kind of a parasitical plant, that it is dependent on the life of the soul. Meditation is really feeding the soul, and in turn, the soul feeds the mind. But if the mind is overpowering the soul, then great sadness and great confusion and loss is experienced. Meditation, being in stillness, allows us to cultivate and to experience the soul within us all. There's a book out, it's called The Seat of the Soul. And the seat of the soul in the body lies hidden between the two eyebrows. It's within each and every one of us. So that's the starting point of the meditation journey. But first, we need to sit still, we need to calm our thoughts, our emotions, let them subside like waves. Sometimes those waves are mighty and they crash against us. And we feel helpless, caught in the whirlpool of the world. So meditation is kind of withdrawing from that whole, all that chaos that's on the outside, and coming to that inner oasis, that inner garden. I'd like you to please direct your attention within. I hope you're sitting in a quiet place. If there are lots of noises and distractions going on around you, it's going to be difficult to meditate, but I hope you're in a quiet space where you can withdraw your attention. Sometimes you can be in a very busy space, but you can kind of put, you can get these earphones that help shut out the outer noise. And when you close your eyes, you're cutting off the outer impressions. It is said that about 83% of all of our sense impressions come through the eyes, and about 13% come through the ears. So right there, you've got majority of all your impressions are coming through those two factors. So if we can control the environment we're in by closing off the outward sounds and closing our eyes to the outward impressions of the world, now we have this opportunity to travel within in meditation to find our inner oasis, our inner lake of calm. So the big waves, if we liken it to being on a pond or an ocean, when it's big waves, they're very dangerous. When they subside, they're little gentle waves. And every once in a while, you'll find it still, very still. When the lake is still, the lake of the mind is still, and the waves cease lapping on the shore, then it becomes like a mirror, and it reflects the sky. The mind is like a microcosm, and it can reflect the macrocosm when it is still. But don't worry if you can't still the mind. This is the struggle before every human being, is the stilling of the thoughts. And that's why meditation is important, to have a mantra or a word. It could be a word of a name of God. It could be a name of a higher power, that you repeat that to help still the mind. It's a tool that's been used for thousands of years. Various philosophical and faith systems, having a word that you hold sacred, that you repeat to replace all the thoughts that come at us from the outside. They say that the only thing that separates us from God is our mind. They say that Kabir, who is a great mystic, he said, when I am, you are not. When you are, I am not. The lane of love is so narrow, there's not room for the two of us. It's kind of like when the alone goes to the alone. Of course, if we are blessed or fortunate enough to enter into that inner sanctum, the inner sanctuary that we all possess, and achieve that sense of peace, when we come back to the world and we open our eyes and we open our ears to the outer world, we will see it in a new light, in a beautiful, positive light. It's not like you dip into the consciousness and then afterwards you completely forget it. No, do retain a memory of it, and it will flavor the day ahead of you or the night ahead of you. The flavor of that peace and the light that you experience within, it will linger around you even after you come out of meditation and engage with the world, just like a rare perfume. And others will notice it too. They'll wonder, what does that person have? There's something about that person that is special. It's kind of a soul recognition. When one soul gets elevated, it impacts the souls of other people. It's kind of like wind. You can't see it. You can't see the wind, but you can see its effect on the trees or the grasses or the flowers. It's invisible, but it has an effect. So if you elevate your consciousness, it's going to have an invisible effect on those around you. But don't be surprised if that state of exhilaration or bliss that you experience in meditation, don't be too surprised if it gets tested, maybe by one of your kids or your spouse or somebody close to you. So, how to maintain this kind of constant awareness? That's the challenge before us. So, let's look within and be still. Another thing that happens in meditation is that as we become centered within at the seat of the soul, which again is hidden between and behind the two eyes, is that sometimes we're overcome with a great love that encompasses everything and everyone, even your enemies. In that state, there are no enemies. No jealousies, no envy, no hatred. Everything is beautiful. Well, we've got about 5 minutes left. Anybody like to ask any question or say anything?
Thank you for leading these sessions, Arran. I really liked what you said about how it's like the wind, that we can't see it, but it has an effect on everything around us. That comment really resonated with me. So I like the way you put that.
Well, I learned from watching the wind move the trees.
There's a lot we can learn from nature, that's for sure.
At every moment. Every moment. Yeah.
Thanks.
Thanks to you all. And have a wonderful week ahead. And my best wishes are with you. Thanks for joining today.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Enjoy the weekend.
You too.
Thank
Thanks.
you.